Mayhem Makers, I'm Mindy with Quilting Mayhem, and welcome to week 1 of making blocks for our Christmas sampler. This week, as I mentioned in last week's video, is we're going to do the bird block. And what I like for these instructions that you should have is they actually have it all laid out so you can have your pieces ready to go. So follow me to my cutting table, I'll show you how I have it all prepared, and then I'll show you how I actually piece it all together. So hopefully you can see I have laid out all the pieces that I have cut for this bird block. On the wrong sides of the fabrics that I need to sew diagonals, I've drawn a line. So I've used my Clover white marking pen that comes off with an iron on my black fabric, and then I've used a navy friction pen on the bird fabric for doing those diagonals. So for this project, all you're going to do is sew on the line, trim, and press open. We will go through each piece by piece. I'll lay them out as we go along so you can see how the bird starts to come together. As I've said in the past, I do like to press my seams open, so that is what I will be doing as I go. And because we are, for the most of these, just sewing on the line, you don't worry about seam allowance, just worry about staying on the line. But as I put my blocks together, I will be using my 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then as usual I have my lovely Olfa cutter that I like to have on hand, just a 45 millimeter, and my 3.5 by 6.5 Creative Grids ruler. So let's start doing the main bird body, which is this fabric, and then we have this background square. I'm going to start with the big one, and I'm just going to take it to my machine, so right on this line, trim and press open. Okay, so we have our bigger square on there. Then I'm going to do our 2 bottom corners. And for my purpose, I'm going to sew both of these at the same time, trim them, and press them open, so then the body will be done. So here we have the body all nice and done, pressed nice and flat. Next, I'm going to show you how to do the beak block. It is what I call a traditional flying goose block when we're done. So I'm going to start with a yellow rectangle. I'm just going to do 1 square, sew it on, trim 1/4 inch, as you see I did here, and pressed, and then put the other block on and do the same. So we'll show you how it looks in the end. Alright, so the first half has been done of the beak. I'm going to lay the other square. It is going to overlap this a little bit, but that is what's going to get you that nice point. And you should have your 1/4 inch seam allowance from the beak tip to the end when we're done. So I'll go sew it and we'll see how it looks in the end. So here we have what I call a traditional flying geese. You have your triangle goose. It's all nice pressed on the back. And I have a 1/4 inch, so when it gets sewn into the block, it's going to go right up to that little point for his little head. So it's going to be cute. The next step I'm going to do, I'm not going to bore you with every little detail. I'm going to do these 2 lines next. I'll do this guy next. Get them all pressed, we'll lay it out, and then I will show you how I start assembling the entire block. So I'll be back in just a minute once all these are sewn and ready to go. Alright, so as you can see, we now have all our diagonal seams sewn. I'm going to start putting this block together. I will start with the simple steps of adding the 2 inch square to this top, this 2 inch square to the bottom of the beak, and then this rectangle to this. And then we'll show you what's next. Okay, so I have my squares on. The next step is I'm going to put the green tree branch on that and sew it, and I'm going to sew the beak to the main bird body, making sure that I keep my 1/4 inch seams as I sew, and then we'll show you the last couple steps to get this guy put together. Okay, so now we have beak to the body and we have our little branch all sewn together. Our next steps are we're going to put the branch to the bird, and then this unit is going to go to the tail, and our final step will be to put a little tuft of his head onto the top of the block. So I'm going to do those next 3 steps and we'll show you how he looks in the very end. So I'll be right back. Alright, so there is our happy little bird block. There is a last step to sew some sashing on, a 1.5 inch on the side and a 1 1/4 on the top and the bottom, or on both sides. So I'll do that step, he'll be done. But there's the basic of how to make him one complete happy little bird. So hopefully you'll get to this point before we get to week 2, and then we'll just kind of keep moving on with this quilt. So you've made it to week 1. Hopefully you'll get him all done and happy. If you have any problems, as always, feel free to give me a call, or you can email me, Mindy@quiltingmayhem.com, and I'll be glad to help you with any problems or questions that you have. And we'll see you next week. Happy stitching!